Dying is an art, like everything else. I do it exceptionally well. I do it so it feels like hell. I do it so it feels real. Wrote the 30-year-old mother who was going to take her life in a couple of months. Sylvia Plath, born in 1932, grew up in an age where women were deeply limited to the households. Surrounded by women who just wanted to get married, Sylvia Plath somehow managed to get a job as a guest editor in Mademoiselle magazine in New York. You see, she was really talented. She published her first poem at the age of 8, 9 months after her dad had died due to diabetes. Her first experience with death that was gonna haunt her for the rest of her life. And to him she said, "Daddy, you can lie back down. There's a stake in your fat black heart. The villagers never liked you.
They are dancing and stamping on you. They always knew it was you. Daddy, Daddy, you bastard, I'm through."
Another great poem she wrote prior to her death. Now the question here is, what is so unique about death that made her write such amazing poetry that she could not write for over 30 years? In his commencement speech at Stanford, Steve Jobs speaks about living every day as if it were your last. So is it true that death and success really walk hand in hand? Sylvia Plath's story tells us the truth. During her 1 month stay at New York, she experienced her first phase of depression, and the phase was so devastating that one day she asked her mother to accompany her in committing suicide. Frightened mother put her daughter in an asylum where she was treated with electroshock therapy. This triggered Plath to leave everything for good. The 20-year-old crawled under the front porch of the house with a glass full of water and 50 sleeping pills, while all the others called and called and called. For 3 nights she rested, but life had planned something else for her. 5 years later, she met Ted Hughes, a renowned poet. The duo got married and started writing together. While Ted was publishing hit after hit, Sylvia lacked the motivation. Desperate Sylvia became even more frustrated when she found out that her husband was having an affair. The frustration and desperation made Sylvia write harshly and aggressively about topics that fainted others. In the span of next 2 months, she wrote over 40 poems, published a novel about love, death, desperation, hatred, and horror. But how was she suddenly bombarded with all this creativity that she lacked all those years? What really changed in her life? The answer is absence of limitation. And let me tell you why it's absence of limitation instead of simply freedom. Because freedom is mostly confused by people. I feel free when I am with you. That is not freedom. That's simply a way of saying that I have limited my freedom to you. Here is an important lesson that we need to learn from Sylvia Plath. Throughout her life, she was limited by the society. After marriage, she limited herself to the amazing work of her husband. Finally, the liberation from social norms and her husband gave her the motivation to write about topics that she really wanted to touch. So it is important to understand that limiting yourself in any way means limiting yourself in many ways. And especially if you are an artist, you must not limit yourself, because art comes from experiences. And limiting yourself in any direction means limiting your experiences. And God knows what waits for you at the end of the line. So try to think about the limitations of your life while I leave you with these words from Sylvia Plath herself.
Ash, ash, you poke and stir, flesh, bone. There is nothing there. A cake of soap, a wedding ring, a gold filling. Hear God, hear Lucifer, beware, beware. Out of the ash I rise with my red hair, and I eat men like air. Dying is an art, like everything else.